Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Dorit Palvanov, your host. Today you may hear my voice is a little rusty. I don't know what it is with me this year. The last time I was sick was in December, and we are now at the end of January, and I got sick again, and this is very unusual to me. For sure something is going on, either hormonally or, I don't know, something is off with me. Anyhow, so if you are new to me and to this show, this is where we talk about the intersection between your health as a woman, your sacred work in your home as a wife and a mother, and how to tap into your life's work as a healer and creative in a way that feels aligned, authentic, and joyful. I believe that all mothers are healers, and we can make the world a better place, beginning with taking care of ourselves, beginning with us, which is why this show is called Health Begins with Mom. So before we get into the show, anything I mentioned today, all the books, all the resources can be found over at the show notes on my website. So you can head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/EP-91. So today on the show, you will meet Jessica, who is a wife and mama of 3 kids. Jessica sought my help because she felt like she's struggling with managing her reactions to the kids and her husband, and just in general not feeling supported or acknowledged by her family for the hard work that she's putting into it. And maybe she didn't use that exact wording, but I think from the information that she shared with me, that was the conclusion that I drew from our conversation. As you will hear on the call, Jessica is very self-aware, and she understands that the source of this feeling is really, at the end of it all, is not prioritizing herself regularly. And as the call progresses, you will hear how together we make the connection between her health and also her menstrual cycle to why she may be feeling the way she does. So as you listen, consider these questions. Do you feel like you have difficulty managing your reactions to your kids and their behaviors? Do you feel low on energy and your mood during certain times of the month is not how you would like it to be? Do you also feel like you'd like to be a nice mom and a sweet mom, but all you are preoccupied with is the logistics of how to make your house run smoother, how to get kids to listen and comply with what you ask them to do, and just to have a sense that your house is a home and everyone who lives in it, including you, is enjoying the comfort and the good and positive atmosphere of it? This can be definitely done. I am this is what I do in my home. Do you feel like motherhood and raising a family is a job or duty, and as a result you tend to not prioritize your connection with yourself or connection with your spouse, your partner? Do you also feel like after having kids, you and your partner are like 2 passing ships or roommates? And do you also crave to feel more joy in your life? So keep all these questions in mind as you listen to my coaching session with Jessica. Hey, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dorit. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's jump right into it. What's your question?
I am having difficulty managing my reactions to my kids and their behaviors. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with Um, my energy level due to nutrition and just my overall mood during certain times of the month. I assume.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
I have three kids, two boys.
Can you, yeah, tell me their ages, boys, girls?
Okay, two boys, one 8, one 6, and the 4-year-old is a girl.
Okay, awesome. Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Are you happy in your marriage?
We are working on it. We communicate a lot less after having kids. We are like two passing ships. Sometimes I refer to him as my roommate because we don't make time for each other for sure.
And why not?
I think just my mindset of being a mom and being primarily, I work part time, but primarily being home with them and taking care of them. I feel like that is my job and duty, and I tend to neglect my husband, honestly.
Okay. Okay. So that right there is huge for me.
I was like, this is not
um,
what I was going to talk about, but apparently I did.
you know, so you and I connected a little bit before I press record. Um, being a woman, it's really not just one thing. I mean, we are many things. And at the end of the day, it really all comes down to a feeling, a certain feeling that I want to feel, right? And you and I know about core desired feelings, and how we want to feel in our lives. So why don't you tell me that? How would you like to feel in your day, in your just general, as a mother, as a wife, just as a woman? How would you like to be feeling?
Um, Definitely joyous. I'm a fairly happy, energetic person, but I definitely don't take time to find the joy in the little things. And I do find that I will serve other people outside my own family, specifically my husband and my children. And giving, I know, isn't that crazy? And give them my all versus my husband and my children. So, joyous is definitely a word that I'm working on. Forgiving, forgiving of my children in a way, like if they react to, or if they do something, I need to forgive and just be in that moment where I let my emotions not be connected to what they're doing. And the same with my husband, forgive him, or be more forgiving of him the way he reacts because he's a different person than I am and he cannot read my thoughts. So
Right.
those are two of my main words.
Right. So, Jessica, I'm going to ask you this. What is the difference between you and somebody who is a servant, somebody who is a martyr, somebody who is just sacrificing themselves for the sake of others? What makes you different? What makes you you? What makes you Jessica? How do you stand out?
Well, I'm definitely not a miter or any of that, but I think I truly do love seeing, like, I love to smile with people. I love to smile at people. I love to encourage them. I think I truly like to see people and see where they, like, meet them where they are and let them know that they're important in life too. I mean, that's
Okay. And
typically,
that's amazing. And that's amazing. But again, my question is, who is Jessica?
oh,
What makes you stand out? Who are you?
I struggle with that. I
Yeah,
really don't feel like
I know. I know. I'm going to stretch you.
okay.
I know that this is a stretch for many, many women. I remember it was definitely a stretch for me. That question is big of like, what do you want? If you could have anything you want, what would you want other than having a clean house, a big house, two cars, and a full bank account?
Yes,
That's something that everybody wants.
of course.
um, what does Jessica want? Because you use the word joy. You wanted to feel joy. What makes you feel joyful?
Spending time with my family and traveling and being with people, like helping others in a way that without without pressure to for them to give back. I'm not putting that correctly, but where I'm just giving completely and not expecting anything back from them.
Okay, isn't this ironic?
Yes, it totally
Do you know why? Do you want to tell me why? Why
yes,
do you think? Yeah, tell me.
because I can't even do that with my husband or my children. I expect, like, I give to them, but I'm expecting back from them, and that's why I have a hard time with, like, I give to others, but I can't give to my family. It's very interesting, or at least that's my perspective.
Right. Well, the way I see it from my point of view is you are giving to everybody, including your family. Um, but you are forgetting somebody who is basically the conductor of it all, and that is you,
True. Very true.
right?
Yes, yes.
So you said nutrition, and you said that some, aspects of health are preventing you from up your very best, or the way you want to be, or the way you know that you can. So let's talk a little bit about you. And I mean, when I say you, you as a woman, you as a being, and we live, all of us reside in a body, and we reside in a female body that has a very intricate hormonal system and a nervous system and many other systems. And a lot of us are, no, not a lot of us, all of us are, um, at the end of the day, the way we act, the way we show up, the way we actually behave in our day to day is dictated by our hormones, right? So yes, we are human beings, but we are actually hormonal beings. So there's something could be off in terms of mindset, and that's fine. I'm sure you are working on that. But let's talk a little bit about your body.
Okay.
So what are some of your rituals in terms of self-care? How are you taking care of yourself?
Okay, so lately, this has been about a month or so that I've been really working on getting up an hour earlier before my kids, journaling, meditating, and at least doing some sort of 10-minute to 30-minute workout. Um, and been trying to eat nutritious, but I waver back and forth between eating, like, I try to do a paleo lifestyle, so eating eggs and veggies for breakfast, but sometimes I just don't eat breakfast either, because I feel like I do tend to overeat at night. So I'm like, oh, well, then I try to make up for that. So that's my typical, I think, daily routine. More often, I do eat breakfast than skipping it.
Okay. And how is lunch looking for you?
Lunch is usually when I go to work, it's great because I have a set lunch that I've made. It's very healthy, usually, salad and a protein or veggies and a protein, maybe some grains. But when I'm home, I tend to just kind of snack throughout the day, and I don't tend to actually sit down and enjoy a lunch. When when I'm making lunch for my daughter who's at home, the days that I'm at home, then I tend to eat whatever she's eating, or honestly, I'll eat off of her plate if she doesn't finish it. So I'm not typically getting a meal that is prepped just for me.
Right. So, what you just said, it reminds me of, so we're just coming off of winter holidays, and I've been home with my kids for 2 weeks. And you know how whenever my kids go to school, I am so good with my own personal routine. I wake up 6 a.m., sometimes even 5, and I make sure their lunches are ready. Everything is ready. Everything is set because there is a structure, right? And that structure was kind of like preset And it's enforced and reinforced by the school system. Like, you are a part of a system, and we know how to work within a system. But then what happens when they're home? It's a chaos.
Yeah.
I remember even in the past 2 weeks, I forgot to prepare lunch. And then my kids were walking around grumpy, and I didn't even think of the fact that, oh my gosh, they're hungry. They're not angry. They're just hungry. They're hangry. So does that resonate? It's almost like when we have a system to work to kind of to help us to show up in our life better, we do. But when we don't, everything falls apart.
Yes, I thrive on structure like most people usually do, and that is part of it. But I also see myself overeating out of boredom, or just to me, like, because I don't know where to start. Sometimes it's overwhelming when my kids are home. I'm like, well, I should really be with them, but I also should be doing this. So I have a really hard time splitting or making that decision, whether I'm choosing the joy of being with my kids and giving them my full me, or doing a mundane, everyday thing like washing the dishes, or, cleaning up the clothes, or whatever it may be. So I think I have more of the problem of overeating.
Right. And then the overeating happens at night.
Definitely.
So here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that, honestly, Jessica, I think you are a great mom. And I want to tell you that, because I think as women and mothers, we really need to hear that. So I think you are a great mom. Well, first of all, if you have kept them alive, you probably are. Even if you're not giving yourself the credit, you are. And I'm sure you are a great wife too. Even though you think you aren't, let me tell you, you are. Now it's just a matter of tweaking, really. It's just a matter of tweaking a little bit. So what I'm hearing is that you just need some tools. You just need some strategies to help you make all of this juggling that you're doing a little bit more sustainable.
Yes.
So the way I work with my clients is sustainability. Let me ask you this. What is sustainable to you? What does it mean to you? How would, having a sustainable life as a wife, as a woman, wife, and a mother look for you? Just want to make sure that we are on the same page here.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sustainable to me means that it's something that I look forward to doing every day. Look forward to getting up and excited about starting my day, as well as, just having those moments every day that I appreciate and am full of gratitude for. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but just even, oh, my daughter was calm when she got dressed. She did it on her own. Or when my boys come home from school, they give me a great big hug. Just any of that. That's sustainable for me. I'm willing to be able to work, forever with that.
Right. So can you see how joy and feeling joy is a common thread everywhere for you? Okay, that's amazing. That's a great clue for you. So that's fine. That's amazing. Another thing that's sustainable for me is that it's easy. That's easy to do, that it's predictable, and that I can stick to it.
Okay.
Okay. So you talked about paleo, right? So paleo is great. And I personally am not so much into dogma. And whenever I hear any type of food regimen or style, I'm kind of like, it's a red light for me.
Okay.
Because what that means is that what if, okay, fine. So by the way, I'm very glad to hear that you are paleo and not vegan, because vegan is terrible for women.
I
especially
love
Yes, because being a vegan, a true vegan, means for the majority of us, unless you are a nutritionist and you know exactly how to pair foods and you're like, you have an education in food, in nutrition, it's super hard to be a healthy female vegan. That's what I have found from my work with women. So I'm glad that you are into paleo, because meats are, and not just meats, just animal food in general, are very high in fats, and other nutrients that are necessary for our very intricate hormonal system. A lot of women are, and you said that yourself, a lot of the times when our moods is kind of off, it's because our hormones are unbalanced. Okay. And so food, you're absolutely right. This is one of the ways we use to help ourselves feel better. So I'm glad to hear that you're paleo. But the one thing that I've found from my work with women is that sometimes a woman could say, you know what, I'm great with paleo, it works really well for me, but I crave the taste of grains. And because grains are not a part of the paleo diet, there is a misalignment there. Right. And from that place, we are actually hurting ourselves as opposed to helping ourselves, right? Especially when we are raising children, small kids. Let's be honest. The majority of time, we are going to eat their scraps. The majority of the time, we're going to eat, their leftovers. Right. I'm not even getting into the fact that this is not radical self-care and all of that, amazing stuff. That's great. But let's be honest. A lot of us will end up eating on the go. A lot of us, like you said, we will snack. We will eat their scraps. That's just the reality. So how can I set up my eating routine so that it is sustainable, it is fun, it is easy, and I'm also going to be eating, even if it's leftovers, I'm going to eat foods that are good for me. Okay. That is the question that I answer in my practice. Okay. And the way I do that is I teach women to eat in alignment with their menstrual cycle.
Ooh, okay. So I have a question.
Yes.
I'm on an IUD, so I do not have a menstrual cycle. And I think that's why I feel so out of touch.
Okay. You said it yourself.
I'm just waiting on my husband here. Always waiting on my husband for his surgery. So okay. I'm just curious. So that's a big effect,
right. So let me tell you this. IUD is great. From my research of different contraceptives that are available on the market, IUD is one of the best. However, there are two different kinds of IUDs. There is an IUD that is like the one that you have. It's called the Mirena IUD. It's the one that has hormones and it affects your menstrual cycle. So like you said, you don't menstruate. Right. And then the other IUD, which is the one I have installed, oh my gosh, I feel like I love it. Yeah. It's the one that I have. It's an IUD without any hormones. So it's a copper IUD. So essentially I am protected against pregnancy, but I still menstruate. Okay. And I know that a lot of women, and I'm glad that this is recorded. So a lot, I want women to hear this. Having a menstrual cycle as a female is good for you. It's healthy for you. This is not a curse. It is a blessing. It is one of the things that as a society, and this is one of my biggest passions and, in my work, is to teach women, especially women who are mothers of daughters, to learn this stuff, to implement these tools, and then pass it on to the next generation. Because as girls, as women growing up, we are basically getting the idea of, you menstruate, you bleed, it's disgusting, it's dirty, it is it's redundant, it's messing up with your day, it's messing up your clothes, it's messing up your mood. It's basically a curse. But the truth is that it's not. a lot of this is how my life changed, and this is how my clients' lives are changed. It's when we tune into our rhythmic lifestyle, into our cyclicality, and that is how we design life that is sustainable, including foods, because based on our menstrual cycle and the different phases of our menstrual cycle, our biology changes, our hormones change, and we should be feeding ourselves in a way is in support of that, as opposed to going against it, right? Of course, this is not done intentionally. It's done because we just don't know what we don't know. But really, it's eating in alignment with the menstrual cycle. That is my answer for you. When you learn how to do that, you are going to no longer feel guilty, ashamed. You're not. It's like, the times when you are menstruating. How tired you are and how exhausted you are. I'm going to give you some examples in terms of these foods. And by the way, these are foods that you are already craving. That is the beauty, right? So you're tuning into your body, and you're feeding yourself what your body is already needing and requesting of you. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So for example, how would that look? How would that look like? So let's say you are menstruating, so you have your bleed. The bleed is usually about 5 to 6 days. And then a lot of women feel like they're tired, they're exhausted, they just want to hide and cocoon and just disappear from the world. Yeah. And so many women, especially as mothers, right? Because we are in service of others constantly, we feel guilty for that. But the truth is that biologically, that's what our body needs. It needs to rest. The time of bleed is the time of restoration. It's the time of rest. And the beauty is that this kind of rest is encoded in our body, right? So as women, what we do is we kind of ignore it, or we choose to not have a cycle. So then we are constantly go, go, go. We are constantly lit up, turned on. And then what happens?
We're even more exhausted.
Exactly. That is why we have a society of burnt out women who are dry, disconnected from themselves, unjoyful, resentful, bitter, sexually unaroused. Not even I'm not even talking about, let's leave the sexual part, the sexuality out of it. Even, having that grit and desire for life, even that is being affected. And believe it or not, all of it is inside of your menstrual cycle.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Didn't know this.
Right. And so that is one thing. And then in terms of the foods that the body craves, why don't I ask you, what are the foods that you used to crave when you had your menstrual cycle?
Oh, I don't know. This is so sad because it's been about 4 years. So, which is a long time, I know. But I want to say it was salty. Mm-hmm. And maybe even fatty foods.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then colder or warmer foods?
Ooh, I don't know. I would say warmer, but I don't remember that.
Yeah. So when we're menstruating, what happens is, because the body is losing a lot of blood, we're losing a lot of iron. The foods that we will intuitively crave would be warm foods like soups and stews and chilies, foods that are very high in bone broths, foods that are very high in minerals, as opposed to vitamins, right? Vitamins are necessary when you are on the opposite side of your cycle, which is during ovulation, right? This is when you would crave foods that are fresh, salads, foods that are not cooked. Because that's when your body is primed for conception and you need a lot of life force in you. That is when your body will crave these kind of foods. So do you see the polarity And do you see the genius that is inside of each one of us? But unfortunately, we don't know.
Right.
We are not educated on it.
This is unfortunate that I'm just now learning this and I'm 37 years old. So,
Right. So don't I okay, so the intention of this is not to make you
oh
feel
no,
guilty, or no, this is not the intention. Listen, some of us, I mean, I've worked with clients who came to me when they were in their, mid 50s, and they were no longer menstruating. So imagine how they feel. This is not about making you feel guilty. Wherever you are on your journey, this is another part of learning to live the female way, right? Living in alignment with your feminine, I call it the feminine current. Because as a woman, as a maturing woman, eventually what happens is we become older, but we also become wiser. And being a wiser woman means that you are learning to be in full acceptance of who you are, without judging yourself, without comparing yourself to others. All of this is toxic. So it's really saying, so what I would invite you to do, Jessica, is say, you know what? Yes, I'm 37 years old. I still have, thankfully, a lot to learn, and I will always be learning. And so I'm so lucky that I came across this knowledge now, and I can still pivot and I can still course. How does that sound, as
well,
opposed to?
that sounds great because then I can go and teach my daughter when she is ready about all of this. I think that I'm glad that I'm learning this.
Of course, exactly. And how does that feel in your body when you're changing that, when you're reframing it like that?
It feels like I have some control. Feels like I can definitely make a change. Like I'm inspired by what you're saying. This makes a lot of sense to me, and I feel like we live in a world of, not saying men, but just more of that, I guess, the male dominant feeling where we have to go, go, go. And sometimes it's okay to get into that feminine, you know, energy and accept that we are different than men and we may not be able to do the level that they are doing energy wise all the time. But it's different. We may be.
Exactly. And that is the word, Jessica. As women, we are not a lovelier version of men. We're just different. But here's something that I want to make sure that I do say, because I hear this in my industry a lot. Industry of women who are into empowering women and all about the feminine empowerment and all that, and that's great. But a lot of the times it almost sounds like it's done on the account of men, or on the account of masculinity, and that is where it's wrong.
Okay.
Bringing the feminine back is not done by squandering the masculine. It's almost like saying, oh, the feminine is good, but the masculine is bad. And that is just not true. It's like taking, the yin and the yang. It's like taking this world is powered by these two opposing energies. But these opposing energies are also completing each other. They're the ones who make the world whole, right? So, all of us have masculine energy inside of us, and that's great. The reason why we want to learn how to engage our feminine energy is because we want to feel like our lives are more sustainable. We want to feel like our lives are actually, we're not, machines, we're not robots, we're not constantly go, go, go. And the feminine energy helps us to do so. So it's not to blame you or to shame you. It's just to say, yes, there isn't, a problem in society that this information is kind of hidden or lost. But when we tune into that and we learn to incorporate it into our lives, it actually can help make our lives better and easier and more flowy. And of course, raising children from that place, how would that look like for you?
Right. That would be amazing. I can show them that I can do anything.
And you can. In terms of actually how to practice it, there are a ton of books. I just want to make sure that the people who listen to this, get tangible, practical, things out of this. So yeah, there are lots of books on this topic. Some of my favorites are Alisa Vitti's book called The Woman Code. Also, any of Dr. Christiane Northrup's books are amazing. She teaches and talks about that a lot. And Dr. Christiane Northrup, I think she's in her early 80s now, and she looks fabulous. And she talks all about how, as a woman who is aging, it doesn't mean that you have to deteriorate, or in health and physicality as well. It is absolutely possible for us as women to maintain our levels of vitality and health and joy. All of this is possible. It's just we need to know how. And I love her book. She wrote the book called Goddesses Never Age, or something like that. I think it's called like that. I might be wrong. But that is what she teaches. I think that would be a great start. You can absolutely educate yourself, learning to live a sustainable life, feeding yourself properly, moving through your days is that feel easy and feel flowy and feel like they're changing. Because as women, so many times it's like you said this to yourself, one time I feel like I want to eat late, and then I feel like I'm hungry, but then I'm not hungry. So how learning to eat in alignment with your cycle will help you to have a framework around that. And then you would be asking yourself, oh, where am I in my cycle? Oh, that's right, I'm menstruating. That is the reason why I'm hungrier. Or if you're a week before your menstruation, but you feel you feel snappier, you feel short-tempered, you feel like your kids are driving you crazy, that is because in the luteal phase, the week before you're about to menstruate, that's what happens. Our hormones are changing, and that's how it's supposed to be. So then you will choose the foods that will help you to be in support of yourself, as opposed to, the other way.
I love this. This is great.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to say, for those of you who are, and maybe even for yourself, Jessica, if you are not menstruating, and you still, are kind of like, no, I'm not ready. I still want to, I'm not ready to remove the IUD, the Mirena IUD. I still want to keep it that, and kind of like still practice that kind of system, that kind of eating style. What you can try is to eat in alignment with the changes of the moon.
Okay.
So the moon, actually, you'll see a lot of women who practice this system, their menstruation is in alignment with the changes of the moon. So our cycle is about 30 days, and the moon is also on a 30-day cycle. So that is another way you can still learn this system and still implement it while you are not menstruating. Although my personal recommendation and professional recommendation also is to do have the cycle, because bleeding, it's actually helpful to the body to detox, to detox physically, but also emotionally and mentally. So that's my personal advice. I just wanted to make sure I do include that in there, because I know that there are a lot of women who, they still want to keep their IUD in, and that's fine. This is your choice. And, I just want you to know what is available, and you can absolutely do that.
That's great. Do you have a recommendation for a book on that, like eating with the moon cycle?
With the moon cycle.
It's okay if you don't. I can look it up. I just
Yeah, you can totally look it up. I don't know off the top of my head. I know that there are a lot of books who teach about living in alignment with the moon,
okay.
but not so much in terms of eating in alignment with the moon. I'm sure you can find something,
Okay.
but yeah, but that's absolutely something that that is possible. All right.
Yes, this is so helpful. I really feel like that is my that's I know there's a lot of missing pieces, but this is a big missing piece for me. And I have felt very kind of disconnected from my body in general, like not listening to my body because I do not have my cycle. And I've been talking to my husband a lot about this. So that is going to be taken care of very soon. And though it is very convenient not to have my cycle, it
Yeah.
is definitely, like you said, it's just a part of me that is probably part of the reason that I'm feeling this loss, not being
Yeah.
connected with my body specifically.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you said it yourself. I kind of, as a health coach, I always find myself in this icky place of, telling women, no, please, your cycle is so sacred. Please don't, don't opt out of it. Because I don't want to sound judgmental. But health wise, it is the healthiest for a female to have a menstrual cycle. And this is not me deciding it, it's the creator, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we would not have it.
Of course. Of course.
So I think it's really embracing fully everything you have, the good, bad, and the ugly. But this is not ugly, really. It is so beautiful. Once you learn to understand it, it will change your life. I promise.
I love this. This is great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing so vulnerably. I know that this is not easy to talk about these things publicly, but at the end of the day, we're all learning from this. This is how we all grow, and this is how we all expand our abilities and our connection with ourselves, with the people that we love. And this is, I think, the most that we can be of service to other moms, maybe mothers who are, just getting into motherhood and learning how to run their homes and how to also not lose themselves in this, in what can many times feel like chaos and mess. But this is a brilliant mess, right? So, guys, can you relate to Jessica? Did you guys see the irony that she that we talked about on the call? Jessica's biggest challenge was that she is struggling with managing her reactions to the kids, that she's struggling with forgiving them for their behavior, and etc., etc. She's also struggling with feeling connected to her husband and making time for their relationship. And yet, her core desired feeling is joy. And when I asked her what sparks her joy, she said, spending time with my family. So there's kind of like a disconnect, right? So deep down inside, Jessica knows that the reasons she feels out of alignment or out of integrity with herself is because she already has the family and the husband and everything that she really wants. But for some reason, there is this disconnect. She doesn't feel joyful, even though she has what she thought would bring her joy. I'm sure if I've done some more digging, I would find more jewels and more clues as to what truly sparks joy for her. But even with this little bit, she's been able to identify that the reason she doesn't feel joy is that she's not taking care of herself. As the conductor of her life and her family, she's been overgiving and taking care of everyone else's needs but her own, and that makes her feel disconnected. So when we are disconnected from ourselves, you've heard this many times over these coaching sessions. It's kind of like a recurring theme. When we are disconnected from ourselves, we cannot feel. And when we don't feel like we're engaging with life in a satisfying manner, that makes us just feel miserable, right? And then what makes us different than robots or machines, right? This is not how human beings, and especially women, that's not how we're supposed to be and live this life. Also, can you relate to Jessica's behavior or habits around food? She said that when she goes to work, she, always makes something healthy for herself to eat. But when she's home, it's rarely a meal, and in most cases, she will snack throughout the day or eat her daughter's leftovers. I have heard this so many times. Jessica, you are definitely not alone in this. And this is just something I think the reason it happens is that because when we're pressured for time and we have to be somewhere, then we actually make a point of moving ourselves and getting something done and ready. Whereas when you're home, it's kind of like you have access to food in case you're hungry, and and it's really kind of difficult to have that rigid flow when you are at home. I shared a little bit of my own story of how I felt disorganized during winter break when my kids were all home, and that's actually one of the reasons why I really I appreciate people who homeschool, because I feel like because they kids are home all the time, in order to not lose their mind, they create, people who homeschool, they have to create a sense of structure and a sense of flow to the day, and almost treat their home like a school or maybe a daycare, so that everybody feels, that they're fed and nourished and taken care of, in certain times of the day, so that the day feels flowy, but also you feel like you're not just snacking or grazing throughout the day, that you're actually having a set opportunity to sit down and enjoy a meal. So not just for the kids, obviously for yourself too. And also she talked about her tendency to eat out of boredom, and basically, all of this is just the common thread is, again, not prioritizing yourself, not giving yourself the permission to be important, and then to take that necessary action that will feed you and nourish you, and spark your joy, which is what Jessica was looking for today, and I think so many of us are looking for as well. So Jessica's key insights and ahas that she's had throughout this call. First of all, she is a great mom and wife, even if she doesn't believe that she is. On the call today, she's discovered that eating in alignment with her menstrual cycle and tuning into the rhythm and pace of her female body will be helpful as a form of radical self-care in a way that doesn't feel like a chore, job, extra work, or exuding energy out of you every time that you do it. In other words, her health message is to bring a more sustainable lifestyle of eating into her home. Let's be honest, guys, as busy moms, we eat our kids' leftovers and scraps a lot, right? I definitely know that I do. But what if what you feed your kids is actually what you need to eat in the current menstrual phase that you are in? This way, you are not neglecting your needs and their needs. This way, you're actually setting yourself up for success rather than failure and burnout. And guys, I've been in this motherhood journey for 9 years now. And I can tell you, I was very, very quickly spiraling into this place of victimhood. Robin Sharma calls this victimitis, excusitis disease. I spent a lot of years in that, having that disease, quote unquote. But really, what I've realized is that the reason why I felt so tired and exhausted and out of energy all the time is because my life was just not sustainable. The way we were eating was not sustainable. And so I was on the search for something that will feel like I can actually practice or do that without feeling like it's like a dogmatic or a pragmatic way of eating, right? Something that will allow me to just tune into my body, feed myself with foods that I crave, and just allow for this flow and airy air into the way I show up in my day to day, because I myself, I'm not a very rigid person, and I like to have a sense of structure and a sense of predictability, but also inside of it, I would like to have some room for change. And from my personal life, eating in alignment with my menstrual cycle has been that it has been liberating to me, because I finally am able to tune into the needs of my body, nourish myself, deep from within, um, eat in a way that changes. I don't always eat the same foods. And also my family. Now I'm at the point where my entire life is organized around my cycle, my work schedule, the way I interact with people, the way my family, when the way we schedule our trips and vacations, and all that is around my menstrual cycle. It's like I'm the sun, and everybody, is revolving around me. Not to say that I'm God, but just to give you this idea of, when as mothers we are, whether we like it or not, we are the sons of our homes. We are, everybody, everything revolves around us. I'm sure you guys, have experienced times when you got sick or you just couldn't show up for your days, and you feel how it's really difficult. Your home almost doesn't, like, it doesn't work, right? Everybody needs you. So although I am not an advocate of, creating codependency and so that everything depends on you, but at the end of the day, we are the ones who create the atmosphere of our home. We are the ones who take this house and turn it into a home with, with our energies, with how we show up, with the way we communicate, with the way we feed our families. All of this is for the most part done from women, by women, which is why traditionally women were the ones who are raising the kids and connecting with kids and doing all of that. And so I believe that it is really substantial and important for us to understand that we matter, right? And then to create everything around our needs, as women and as females. Okay, so on this call, I gave a little bit of, a few examples of how it looks like. If this is something that sparks your curiosity, please reach out to me. You can find me over at Instagram at Health Begins with Mom, or you're always welcome to email me at Dorit at healthbeginswithmom.com, and just and let's start a conversation about it. And if you feel like this is something that can help you in your life, I'm extremely happy to give that information, pass on that education to you, so that you can also start living your life more sustainably, with more ease, more flow, and also fun and joy. Okay, food doesn't have to be so complicated. And I say this as a registered holistic nutritionist. All right, food, yes, it's important. This is the fuel of our body, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Simple is the best. Okay. And then the other thing is, we got into talking about the fact that she doesn't menstruate. She doesn't have a menstrual cycle. because she has what's called the Mirena IUD, which is basically an IUD, an intrauterine device that has hormones, and these hormones, they suppress menstruation. So if you, like Jessica, feel out of touch with yourself, like I said on the call, the IUD is one of the best contraceptives for women who are in long-term relationships, but stopping your bleed altogether, it is not a good idea from a woman's health perspective. Having a bleed once a month is good for you. It is healthy. This is how your body is designed to work. So if you are intentionally, deliberately stopping your bleed, you are basically communicating to the universe or your creator that bleeding is inconvenient and a nuisance for you. That you don't like being a female. And let's face it, at the end of the day, that's what makes us different from men, right? I've worked with many women who, while being on the Mirena IUD, felt like they are confused, agitated, overwhelmed, too stressed, out of touch, like Jessica said, too overworked, go, 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 nonstop in the doing, giving, and providing for others. Caring and being of service to others without ever giving themselves the permission to stop, to pause, to exhale, to rest, to restore, and yes, to bleed. First and foremost, your bleed is good for you on a physical level. Your weight, your blood sugar, and your heart rate are standard measurements that doctors use to gauge your health, right? This is how they know if you're healthy or not. But your period is another way that you can spot when something is off from within. For example, if you're experiencing sudden shifts when it comes to how heavy your flow is, where your cramps rank on the pain scale, spotting between cycles, and other unexplained changes are all clues your period is sending out to let you know that something might be wrong. It could be a minor and benign issue, but it may also be an SOS signal to something serious that you won't want to put off. So my advice to women is to stay away from anything that eliminates or alters their periods in any way. If you need someone to talk to about this, please reach out to me. Like I said, you can DM me on Instagram at Health Begins with Mom, or talk to your doctor on other options that you have. Like I said, I myself have the IUD, the copper IUD, as a form of contraception, but I have the one that does not have any hormones, so I do still have my bleed. As women, when we ignore our need to rest and restore, we basically lose our grit and excitement for life. We become disconnected from ourselves and what we want and desire, and also our creativity. It directly affects our creative force because our creativity, remember, for us women, our creative force comes from our womb. So if there is a stagnant energy there, if you don't bleed, if you don't shed that energy, and in literal form, but also in energetically, that is going to have an effect, and you will feel it. And today on the call, you've heard Jessica, how she feels because of that. Now, another thing I do want to mention, if you are in transition and are looking into other contraceptives while you still don't bleed, you can still benefit from cyclicality by tuning into the phases of the moon, like I mentioned today on the call. And in the show notes that you can find on my website, so again, www.healthbeginswithmom.com/EP-91, you can find links to some books that I recommended. I've done some research where you can educate yourself on how to live in alignment with the moon, how to eat in alignment with the moon, and all of that amazing stuff. Basic bottom line here, guys, is that as women who are aging, we don't have to be deteriorating. right? We can and we should be setting our lives in a way that feels easy, that feels flowy, that feels sustainable, that feels like we can do it. And we definitely can. I know that this is my health journey, this is my health mission. And I hope that whatever you're learning here on the podcast is helpful for you to create that kind of life. So, before I wrap this up, here are some practical and tangible suggestions that you and Jessica can try so that you can start embodying self care and this connection with yourself again. So, running a home, excuse me, can definitely feel like an important responsibility and duty, and it is. But what I was struggling with for many, many years is the question, how can I run a loving, warm, productive, and efficient home while still feeling joyful and happy all at the same time? Is it possible? Is it possible for me as the person behind the scenes, or not so much behind the scenes, as the person who is running it all, because at the end of the day, I feel like I am a project manager of my home. So many wives and moms feel like the entire household is in their realm of responsibility. And when we become too dutiful or feel like we're obligated to do something very quickly, we find ourselves being depleted and starving for joy or happiness and struggling to find the time to do the things that we want to do, right? Whether it is to curl up in bed with a captivating story, or maybe a bubble bath just by yourself without any visitors, hint, hint, or maybe a delicious, healthy meal that you will actually eat slowly with delight and pleasure, or even be playful in the bedroom. I hear so many women, so many mothers who have kind of put, sexuality and sexual pleasure on a back burner because it is just like, who has time for that, right? But this is where the joy, those are the things that spark joy in our lives, right? That spark pleasure. So if you feel like you want to be playful in the bedroom, where you feel safe and to explore and try new things with your partner, or maybe even on your own, whatever it is, I see so many of us, mamas, taking on the role of the responsible one too seriously and too rigidly. And I say this mostly to myself. Just yesterday, I had this moment where I was quickly spiraling into victimhood and resentment when I stopped myself and decided to enroll my kids and my husband and allow them to help me. So we were just wrapping up dinner and I saw all those dishes. Everybody was tired and hungry. And so, I made sure that everybody's fed, including myself. But then the loads of dishes, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I'm like, okay, wait. I don't have to be the one doing it. It's okay. It's okay to allow my family members to help me. So for years, I've been so strict and controlling with regards to how things are done, or how things are, how plates are put in the dishwasher, or how clean my house is, because there is just one way to do it, my way or the highway. But what happened is that eventually my family members obviously started resenting me, and also didn't learn how to help, how to take care of themselves and clean up after themselves. And slowly, obviously nobody wants to be around somebody who is not fun to be around, and they will just disappear. And I was left there by myself. And of course, because there was just my way or the highway, I had to take all of this on myself. And very quickly, I got burnt out. So no more of this anymore. Now, my girls, my oldest ones are 9 and 7, and they can help. They know they're ready, more than ready to help. I do think that paying for help is the way to go when kids are very young. But once they are 5 and up, I think that they can definitely help, even with small things like loading the dishwasher, or maybe doing some sweeping, or maybe putting the pillows away. Um, Today, and this, by the way, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna lie to you, because it did take training. It took some dedication on my end, and I still do it. But today, nowadays, my kids help me with the laundry. They help me with cleaning, with dishes, with dressing and undressing my toddler. And I can finally exhale and focus on the things that I want to do. Is it always smooth and perfect? Nope, it isn't. Almost never. It almost never is. But I'm okay with that. No, not only is this a huge help for me, this is also my way of gifting them with essential life skills. So, mamas, stop doing all the things by yourself and enroll your family members into your health mission. Allow them to help you, even if it's done not up to your standards. Show them that their help is instrumental to you and to the success of your household. This is how we can help our children feel that they belong and that they are a part of something greater than their immediate and selfish needs. So give up control and step into your freedom. The other thing that Jessica learned today was to return back to menstruation as soon as possible. Because that will help her body to reset and work like it's designed to. So if you, like Jessica, have opted out of menstruation by choice, I highly encourage you to reconsider this decision. Although I am not a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner or an Ayurvedic practitioner, I've studied and researched enough about them to let you know that these Eastern medical systems view the health of a woman completely differently. So whereas the Western medicine views women's health as a way that can be controllable, right? So we can control a woman's cycle and health better than nature. The East, those Eastern medical systems, they believe that nothing can overrule nature, and I just resonate with that. And I think Jessica on the call today also resonated with that. From an Eastern perspective, intentionally stopping a woman's period would lead to stagnation in her reproductive organs and to adulteration of the natural intelligence of the body. Both conditions can lead to health concerns ranging from irregular heavy bleeding to endometriosis, tumors, endocrine disorders, and other serious conditions. In Eastern medicine, menstruation is considered a natural physiological process that reflects the condition of a woman's overall health and the balance of her sex and stress hormones. So this was an excerpt from a book, from one of my favorite books about hormones. It's called Balance Your Hormones, Balance Your Life by Dr. Claudia Welk. And I think she's so right. When we think that we can kind of like alter the physiology or the biology of our body, to soothe our modern needs, that's when I think personally problems start. So, I am going to wrap this up, but before I do, ladies, I'm super pumped to invite you to join the January round of the Health Begins with Mom Mastery Experience, which is a 6 months incubator to help you break free from anything that is holding you back from shining your true light as a woman. In Jessica's case, she would join this program to learn how to take care of herself more deeply in a way that feels sustainable and feed herself and her family at the same time. Now, I say feed both literally and figuratively, as we need to feed ourselves in other ways as well as food and nutrition. All of this can be done. And this is my sacred work and how I help mothers to raise healthier families, starting with themselves. What you've heard on the call today is an example of how I work with women and how each coaching session sounds and feels like. In this program, I'm going to hold your hand, and together we're going to do the work that you're afraid to do on your own. I will mother you, I will love on you, I will nurture you, I will also kick your butt, so be ready for that. I will also teach you how to eat in alignment with your feminine energy, with your feminine cycle, with how to balance your hormones. You will finally shed that weight that you've been craving to shed, but you will do that in this program with soul and without sacrificing joy. You will also expand your emotional mastery container. You will learn how to negotiate with your inner critic, how to heal your mother wound, and become the woman, wife, and mother that deep down inside you know that you are destined to be. This work is sacred and it is dedicated to your healing. I want you to take the stand for yourself courageously so that you can show up your very best as a woman, as a wife, and a mother. So if this is something that you would like to explore, please head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply and we'll get on the phone and we'll see if we are a good fit. So if you enjoy this show and feel called to help me share this message with more mothers and women, please write an honest review on iTunes. This is the best way of showing your appreciation and also showing me that you care about this message, and these words help you become a better version of yourself as a woman, as a wife, and a mother. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being a listener and for showing up, for choosing yourself every single day, because guess what? You matter. You are worthy. You are divine. You are a daughter of God. So I'm sending you so much love and healing, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.